Tracy Summer.
Back once again, you are now tuned into the underground. My name is Mbai and I go by the doctor. Today, what I have for you is a quick lineup and taper. Real still for me. Try to stay up too. I don't want no disasters. Not sure if y'all caught that, but I'm trying to tell my mans to stay up during this service, and he's clearly agreeing with me, but definitely lying because he's definitely about to fall asleep. And as I tell him to go ahead and keep his head steady and keep his eyes closed, don't linger around because the opening of your eyes tends to have you move your head out of focus, as in not centered. Anyways, no pressure, no big deal. Let's go ahead and get into this. So the whole purpose of this video ultimately was to help out anybody that doesn't know how to work with abnormal lineups like his. But as you can see, he fell asleep, started jerking already, and it threw me off a little bit. So I went ahead and started working on the side of the head, which is the right side for him, your left. It would have been very helpful if I would have started with his left side, your right, because in a case such as his, where his lineup on the frontal area here grows abnormally, just slightly lower. If I start with this side that I'm working on now, which is the lower side, it would have been a lot easier for me to connect it to the right side. But of course, my man's is falling asleep and he's about to have one crazy jump in just a second. Watch this. Okay. Complete madness, right? And that would have been whose fault? The barber. And that's crazy that we always get the blame for a lot of the mistakes that happen to clients during their service. We have some of the most steady hands in the world next to surgeons. And if there's no proven statistic with that, somebody needs to probably look into that, because barbers do some amazing work. I mean, look at how well this lineup is being performed. By the way, I did cut them up a few times with this same trimmer before I changed the cutter a few weeks ago. I don't know, for those of you who watched the video, the OG Rebel trimmer had a 2.0 cutter on it, which is a slim cutter. In other words, I swapped it for the one cutter because that thing was just a tragedy situation waiting to happen, and I didn't want to keep on doing that to anybody anymore, because I attempted to zero gap something that shouldn't have been zero gapped. It was cutting just fine, but I knew that this blade would somehow one day work against me. But what will be funny is if I created some sort of trauma with that sharp blade cutting them up last time. It's not so funny, but it's kind of funny. Be careful with zero gapping, y'all. But anyway, look, this technique that I'm using is, of course, the easiest way to keep the lineup nice and full and keep a 3D look by lining them up first. This will help achieve a perfect symmetrical lineup that I can later on taper after it's all done and executed. I already lined them up around the ear and tapered the nape area. That's all done. So I just kind of wanted to focus on this front for y'all real quick, just to take this technique, try it out if you haven't done this before. This really helps if your client comes in often. You can still see your old work and just kind of follow through with it. This is very helpful. I guarantee that if you use this technique, you are going to be winning. You're going to set yourself up for success. That's the whole point at the end of the day, is to make sure that everything looks good. And my man's is just going, as y'all can see, he's jerking around all over the place. These kids, yo, like, once the summertime comes around, they just lose their whole deal when it comes to keeping time. It's complete madness. And every time I pull back, he's trying to wake up. And I just told him, hey, just keep it slouched, man. Just keep your chin to the chest. Keep it right there. Don't move, because all this jerking around was kind of getting to me. And I was trying to make sure that I got this lesson in for y'all. But as you can see, I'm going in with the open technique. Close halfway, then I close completely, keeping everything all the way super easy, straightforward, not complicating nothing. So literally, you just got to work that lever, and make sure you're working your blades on those corners is the best thing you can do for yourself to set up for success. So the next thing that I'm going to do is use those same steps with the number 1 guard. I'll move on to the 0 guard, just making sure I go in open, close halfway, close completely, just to make sure everything's blended. And a lot of the things that are going to look slightly off, it's the best that it's going to get. In some cases, this is of course all due to how the hair grows on the sides. When it comes to the right side, a majority of all of us have the hair grow slightly downward as it goes backwards. This is not true in all cases, but you got to make sure you finesse it as best as you can. And I know some of you can definitely do a way better job than me, but this is how I get it done. And I did swap from the Rebel to the Cyborg clipper because this thing has a digital brushless motor, which is very forgiving and definitely helps to put a good touch on the details. It's a softer cut, but definitely a powerful motor. It just does a better job. And I will follow through with the same steps on this left side. I'm going to go ahead and zero out the first guideline using my trimmer. Then I will move on to the Rebel clipper, which of course will be the same steps that I took on the right side with no guard first, clipper lever all the way open, setting that guideline. Then I will close halfway, then close completely to remove that guideline that was just created. Then I will slap on the number 1 guard and same steps, clipper lever all the way open, close halfway, then close completely. And these same steps will be taken with the 0 guard. After that is complete and everything looks good, I will go in with the Cyborg clipper on this side as well, just to put in those final touches. So you don't have to use 2 different clippers like I am going to be doing. And I do recommend it, but it's something that you don't have to. It's just I'm very particular with the details, and every tool does a different job. I always try to tell everybody about this. Make sure you're refining your work, and this is just pretty much polishing up everything that the Rebel left behind, because this Cyborg clipper, let me tell you, it is definitely needed. Now you can play this the same way with other types of tools, even more cheaper. If you're not able to afford the Cyborg or the Rebel, in some cases you can always buy the Protege. The Protege helps you do the same work. All you got to do is possibly invest into some blades. And I do have a 2.0 cutter on the Cyborg compared to the cutter on the Rebel is a deep tooth cutter. So you got to make sure that you know what you're doing with these different tools. Everything does a different job, and how you apply them to your canvas will definitely make a huge difference with the quality. And it's all about those corners, y'all. So make sure you're getting those corners in there, executing everything flawlessly. And yeah, this is pretty much a wrap. I'm going to go ahead, after applying just a little bit more detail, have them recline back, and I'm going to go ahead and do the details with the razor. This is pretty much it, y'all. I hope that you are finding some of this helpful. If you're not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. I do videos like this all day long, especially for those of you who are new and haven't seen me do what I usually do. I go in depth. I try to break this down from a perspective that a beginner will be able to understand, no problem. I don't want you to ever have a struggle with this at all. And in the last video that I had them in, I actually did do the slit on the eyebrow, which I did use a trimmer first and I followed through with the razor. But in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and apply the razor because I'm kind of just touching this up at this point. It's really pretty much in there, and I don't have to really do this with a trimmer, even though that would be very much so easier. I can go ahead and just apply the razor and no trimmer needed. But as you can see, I'm doing a dry razor on the temple area and around that frontal area. Everything's just pretty much prepped and ready to go at this point. After the lineup is executed, you can just do a dry razor. You can apply gel or shaving foam, whatever you please, but this is the best way that I see it fit when it comes to that frontal area. It's easier, done with a dry razor. You can't go wrong, you can't lose. But I hope y'all found this helpful. Share this to a friend, somebody that you know that may find this informative. Subscribe to this channel. Again, please follow me on all my different platforms. Make sure that you are looking at my stuff regularly, because the more you get used to my style, my methods, my technique, the better off you will be, because it's going to set you up for success. I try to make this stuff very easy and straightforward to where anybody, your grandmother, your grandfather, can do exactly what it is that I do, no problem, maybe even better, to be honest, because this stuff is easy, y'all. There's nothing complicated about this. But yeah, this is pretty much a wrap, y'all. I will catch y'all on the next one.